Williams' Ecopedia, Arcology to Xeriscaping by William Auger. Williams' Ecopedia, Volume 1, Topics in Sustainability, from Arcology to Xeriscaping. This book is dedicated to all the pioneers who have and still are working hard to lay the foundations for a sustainable future. Table of Contents, Earthships, page 47. Earthships. As knowledge of green building and sustainable design is coming into the limelight, you may be hearing a lot of strange phrases being thrown around, such as arcology, gray water, or living machines. A strange phrase often encountered is Earthship. Some people have heard this phrase, but wonder exactly what an Earthship is. The concept of Earthships was created by architect Mike Reynolds, one of the early proponents of the new green building and sustainability movement that evolved in the 60s and 70s. He graduated from the architecture program at the University of Cincinnati in 1969. In a similar vein to Edward Masria, author of the Passive Solar Design Handbook, as an architect, Mr. Reynolds focused on the fact that the architecture profession generates massive amounts of waste and pollution, and that architects could design in such a way as to reduce the massive hyperconsumption of our buildings. Not only that, he realized common items of trash could in fact be used as construction materials. In his career, he has written 5 books on the subject, citing that any item, from old aluminum cans to tires, can become a solid building material if filled with earth and plastered over. This technique would not only reduce the consumption of materials for construction, it would reduce the production of waste and could even clean up our landfills and junkyards. To understand this theory, you first have to understand the basics of earth and construction. Building with earth is an age-old practice dating back thousands of years in human history. Building with earth has many advantages. First off, you can use the earth right on site to build. You don't have to haul in expensive manufactured materials. When done properly, the earth is quite solid and can last for decades, in some ancient cases, even centuries. Solid earth acts as an excellent thermal mass, meaning it can absorb and radiate heat. The use of thermal mass is an important concept in sustainable design, as it helps with the heating and cooling of a structure solely by design, requiring no mechanics or power. To get a better understanding of how a thermal mass works, feel a brick wall or the sidewalk at night. You will notice that the material is warm to the touch, and after an especially hot day, actually radiates heat at night. During the day, the earthen structure absorbs the radiant heat from the sun and the ambient heat within the structure. This helps to keep your interior cool during the day, and at night, the heat radiates back out, helping to keep your interior warm. Due to the benefits of this technique, earthen construction saw a resurgence in the mid-70s. There are many techniques for using earth as a construction material. The most common is called rammed earth, where the earth is placed into a formwork and then pounded down to make it solid. Some other techniques include making earthen bricks or placing the earth into bags and then tamping it down. Whichever technique, the basics are always the same. The earth must be contained within something to hold a shape. It must then be compressed down to make it solid. Once solid, the earth provides structural strength and thermal mass for your building. Mr. Reynolds understood that anything could be used as a formwork as long as it holds the earth and allows you to compress it. One could, for example, lay an old tire down on the ground, fill the tire with dirt, and use a sledgehammer to pound the earth down within the tire. The final result would basically be a solid compressed earth brick in the shape of a tire. If you kept repeating this process, you could eventually build a solid wall from tires filled with compressed earth. You could then cover the wall with plaster and do any sort of finish work you wanted to produce a structure that was aesthetically pleasing for you. This became the basis of his work in designing what would eventually become called Earthships. Why are they called Earthships? For one, they are constructed of the earth itself. And 2, they are like living in a ship, in that they are completely autonomous systems for living. Keep in mind that the phrase Earthship is mainly a catchphrase, a word to capture the imagination and encapsulate an idea. So sometimes when people use the phrase Earthship, they are referring specifically to the plans developed by Mr. Reynolds. Others use it as a more generic phrase to mean any sustainable home built from tires filled with rammed dirt. Still, others extend the idea to mean any self-contained, sustainable home made with a combination of renewable or recycled materials and earth. Either way, let us explore the basic concept. First, as we discussed above, Earthships are made by ramming earth into tires. Why tires? The main reason is because there are so many of them. There's an estimated 2 billion tires around the nation just sitting in landfills, with approximately 100 million being added every year. By using these tires, we can begin to clean up some of this mess. To be fully effective earthen bricks, they do have to be of a certain size and mass, and tires make an earthen brick thick enough to provide both structural support and sufficient thermal mass to be effective. The walls of the Earthship are typically arranged in a U shape with the open end facing south. By facing south, the design allows sunlight to enter directly into the interior during the winter, and the thermal mass of the earthen tire wall absorbs the solar heat, warming up the interior. During the summer, roof overhangs keep the sun out of the interior, and the thermal mass of the earthen tires absorbs ambient heat in the interior. Together, these forces help to keep the interior cool. If the structural, construction, and design details are done right, an Earthship can stay at a constantly comfortable temperature all year round without using any mechanical systems. Earthships are designed to capture and collect all the rainwater that falls on the building. Earthships incorporate living machines, which are water recycling and cleansing systems that use a series of plants and tanks designed to flow together. The design of the living machine creates a natural ecological system that cleanses water. For safety purposes, the water from toilets is not used in this way, but all other household water can be cleaned by a living machine and recycled into downstream uses. This cleaning and recycling of water greatly extends the water efficiency of an Earthship, allowing rain and snow to be viable sources of water. In a conventional home, the toilet is the largest user of water, more so than for drinking, showering, or other domestic uses. The toilet system in most, but not all, Earthships is a composting toilet, which has many advantages over conventional toilet systems. Composting toilets are able to safely process sewage using all natural materials without using any water whatsoever. Not only do the composting toilets not use water, they actually convert the sewage waste into usable fertilizers that may be then added to gardens to produce food. By use of the composting toilet, an Earthship reduces water consumption as well as gives you great mulch. Earthships also incorporate a greenhouse into their structure, which provides many advantages. For one, this greenhouse helps with heat collection in the winter, warming the place. It is also where the living machine is kept so that the plants used to clean the water can receive proper sunlight all year round. The greenhouse also produces oxygen and fresh air, increasing the health of the indoor air quality. And finally, of course, greenhouses can be used to grow food all year round. The exact crops grown in the greenhouse will vary from person to person, depending on how green their thumb is. One of the major uses of electrical power in a home is the air conditioners and heaters. As we discussed earlier, a properly designed Earthship does not need any mechanical heating or cooling. Therefore, the greatest consumer of energy is eliminated. With this gone, powering your home by solar panels becomes more feasible and practical. So Earthships all include solar panels to collect electricity and batteries to store that power for use at night. Many of them also incorporate wind power as well as backup generators just in case. By eliminating huge power draws in the home, Earthships can provide enough electricity for their inhabitants completely disconnected from the grid. All in all, Earthships are designed to a completely sustainable habitat, completely separated from the grid, yet providing a comfortable temperature range, water, and electricity. They can even provide food for the inhabitants. When you talk about building with tires, many people imagine homes that look like big, ugly piles of tires, and nothing could be further from the case. Remember, underneath its skin, any home is an ugly pile of support structures, wires, and piping. It's all about the finish work. On top of the earthen tire walls, the architect builder of the Earthship applies a layer of plaster and paint that can finish out your Earthship in any style. Of course, they all have the same common aesthetic features, such as their unique shapes, extensive use of greenhouses, and south-facing glass frontage. The interiors vary from Earthship to Earthship based on the tastes of the owner-builder, but many people let the aesthetics of their Earthship have a natural earthy feel to them. Mike Reynolds and others have been working for over 25 years developing the Earthship concept, trying different approaches, learning from their mistakes, and refining the design. In the mid-'80s, he was sued for some of his Earthships and his professional architecture license was revoked. However, he has since received his license back and is now a recognized pioneer in sustainable design. Early Earthships were susceptible to overheating or underheating, leaking, and having undersized living machines for water recycling. Thanks to the continued work of Mr. Reynolds and others, all of the pioneers who lived in the early Earthships, The designs have come a long way towards providing high-quality, sustainable homes that can pass any rural building code. As of yet, there are no Earthships built within highly developed urbanized areas. The largest collection of Earthships is in a housing development outside of Taos, New Mexico, called the Greater World Community. This community of Earthships is a legally incorporated housing development compliant with all codes and laws for its area. There are over 60 Earthships housing over 90 people, and they are still building. There is no electrical grid, no large-scale sewer systems, only independent Earthships. Depending on the exact design, amenities, power systems, and craftsmanship, the cost can vary, but be prepared to pay a cost comparable to a conventional home, just like moving into any subdivision. Outside of the Greater World Community, there are Earthships built in every state in America and dozens going up across Europe. Mike Reynolds created the company Earthship Biotecture, which specializes in building Earthships, as well as teaching seminars and workshops on how to design and build your own. You can purchase generic designs from, or even purchase pre-packaged Earthship kits, which come with everything necessary to build your own. The cost of Earthships can vary, with some costing as much as $300,000 and others costing as low as $5,000. Those costs can vary a great deal depending on many factors, including the more you can build yourself, the more you can lower the costs. Some people are able to build Earthships by hosting workshops and creating sort of an Amish barn raising culture around Earthship construction, so that a group helps you, then you help others, and so on and so on. Earthships are proving to be a reliable system for constructing sustainable homes and are doing a great deal towards promoting true sustainable living across the globe. Though some of the early Earthships got off to a rocky start, the concept has proven the test of time over the last quarter century, and the modern incarnation is functional, beautiful, and financially viable. To learn more about the Greater World Community Earthship subdivision, you can visit their website, www.greaterworld.org. Though they do like to remind the people that this is not an open eco-village, these are private homes, and you cannot just drop by and come in. Architecture is literally the physical manifestation of philosophy. Quote attributed to Wes Auger. Thank you.